Tacit Dialogues is about a conversation between the performance in glass blowing and also the material, and it's really about like finding bridges between the physical, so the analog world, and the digital.
So that's why the name of the exhibition, or the project in general, is also called Tacit Dialogues, to abstract this tacit information that is kind of inscribed in the body of a maker, in this case a glassblower, and to visualize it and bring it across, reveal this tacit knowledge in a way.
Maybe it's also about transferring those information into other kinds of experiences and also processes and objects, artifacts.
The base for the project is this kind of dance with the glass. So glass is viscous when it's hot, it's like honey, and it can react, or it does react, to the movement of the craftsman. Obviously, when he turns the pipe in a certain direction, the glass reacts on this movement. So what you see behind us are some glass objects that are all made in reaction to a certain movement. So each object reflects a certain movement, and this is the analog part of it. And then Babette, Elaine and Verena, they've used digital tools to now you can probably say it better than I would do it now, so I pass it on.
Yes. Exactly. So what was so obvious for us when we were observing this performative or this glass production, it was that the glass is always fluid. So glass making for us means handling a fluid, and we were more focusing on the material qualities and this fluid qualities. And at the very beginning of the glass blowing process, you dip the glass pipe several times into the oven, into the kiln, and this is a layering process. And you have always in the glass blowing process to act against gravity. You use centrifugal forces to keep the pieces in center, and these are the main forces we are using in our installation as well. We are not using glass, but we are using fluid ceramic bodies and putting them on a rotating plate, and this you have the centrifugal crafts again, and this rotating plate is also informed by the information of the rotating pipe of the glass blowers. So that's a connection, but we are more focusing on the inherent characteristics of the material and the fluidity itself. And it makes a relation to natural forming processes, and that's a quite interesting hint. So how our designed objects are probably also connected to natural processes.
The artifacts that you mentioned, like for me also this the body moving is also an artifact in itself. It's a memory of a movement, and it's a memory of a moment, and to be able to expand on that with digital tools, because all of these moments have potential. So in my work, implicit memory generated space, I also construct this organic spherical shape around the body. It's generated from the posture and from the way that it's moving in time, and that's the point also, to reveal what else can happen beyond just the tracking or the recording process. And so also in your work, when you create these sculptures, interacting with time and with the motions of the pipe and the tools that go into this process of blowing glass.
You have that movement in the beginning. It's a simple body movement, and you have in the direct dialogue between Luke Holden, who's the glassblower, and the glass, you have this glass object as a result. but in a way, these other projects around it are kind of an abstract version, and in a way it's for me somehow it's almost like, okay, there's not this dialogue between Luke and your machine, but in a way there is, or so
it's really a kind of dialogue about, it's a dialogue of materials, it's a dialogue of processes, it's a dialogue of movements. And we are transferring these movements in mechanical or machine-made movements and settings. But anyway, you have always this conversation between those different kind of layers, the human, the machine, the material. So it just enriches the whole experience and shows how we are somehow practical thinking. So we are thinking in a practical way here. So these are a kind of thesis. These are speculative objects and situations we are creating, and that are reflecting on this relationship between those very different aspects.
That's a reflection that I am making now by seeing your work. Is something like I'm reflecting about. I'm seeing this space completely differently that Luke is inhabiting for his work. So it's your digital tools are enabling us to see something that we are not able to see just by watching the process, because it's really taken out.
But also beyond that, I would add, again, you mentioned equality between all of the processes coming together, material, the human, the digital. And this is also, for me, what was something really important in the work, that it's not the digital versus the analog. So my work is actually inspired by a chapter in Brian Masumi's book Parables for the Virtual that he wrote, I think almost 20 years ago now, and there is no superiority. There should be just this attitude of equality to find ways to view these processes in different ways, and to also to be more in touch with our bodies and the whole our whole spheres of perception that is beyond the visual, of course, and also going into touch and sound and heat and so on.
I find it quite important also that we are it's a playful dialogue, using those digital tools, using the glass blowing as a base for trying different things, and we don't know where it leads maybe sometimes.
It's a starting point, and it is growing extremely organical. So the whole dynamic in the group, and everybody puts in its personal interests and also personal abilities and knowledge, and this is really also a dialogue between us in the group, and it will grow for sure. So it just feels so normal and selbstverständlich that it need to go further. So that's a starting point here, and it will continue definitely. Yeah, it was a super nice purpose or occasion that we have these offer just to exhibit here, because it just pushes us a bit to bring the things together. And we are spread it over Berlin, and we are just visiting each other and seeing the things the other people are doing, and always being connected. But it's something different to work on a exhibition and to just set up everything together and see how the things are really relating to each other. And that's a quite nice thing, actually.
I also think that this kind of played into this organicness of the whole way that this developed so far. Is that Feld 5, you got in touch with me, and then I said, we have this project right now, and then we realized it in 1.5 months or something like this. So it was like one of those coincidences that popped up, and we took it, and I think it was amazing also in this time because we are having a lot of restrictions, and it was a really nice task to deal with these restrictions and make something, although there are the certain limits. I mean, this is a window show, but we've used the digital media as much as we could and tried and experimented also with this. I mean, just today there was this interview. I never did an online interview via Google Meet. Was a new experience too, and but yeah, it's like that. It's really. Just going for it.
Yeah, I would just add also that the flexibility of the space also was like really important for us to make this happen, and also the fact that it was a window show where all the things were coming together in a close space, so then the viewer also saw them together and immediately was able to make the links between the fluidic like language that is, I think, translated throughout all of the projects. So it was really like also a nice coincidence to end up here and to work with everybody at Velfumf.